kicks and fires. Rose taking. Strike 2 call. Pete has been at odds tonight with the plate umpire Dana DeMuth. This is his first game since being called up from the Pacific Coast League. He immediately goes behind the plate. Call Rose out on the 3rd, and Pete was not happy about that and did not like that call. There's strike 3 call. He rings him up. Rose gives him a shot, and DeMuth has thrown him out of the game. Pete goes back now and will get his money's worth. I don't know what he said, but I'll tell you this. It lit DeMuth up like a Christmas tree, and he ejected Rose in a heartbeat. You will not see that occur often during the course of a season. That is 8 strikeouts for Bryn Smith. And here's Dave Parker. Parker's 0 for 3. He was called out on strikes his last at-bat in the 6th inning. He lines one up the middle. Base hit. Now Cal Daniels, who's had 2 hits. In fact, the 2 rookies in the Reds lineup have accounted for 4 of the 6 hits. Daniels has singled and tripled. Stillwell has singled twice. Well, the Reds have a man on with 1 out. Daniels now hitting .333. Galarraga will play behind Parker at first, so Dave will get free rein to get as much of a lead as he wants to, within reason, of course. He had such a lead then that Smith stepped back off the pitching rubber and looked him back toward the bag. 7-2 Montreal. Stretching the pitch. Strike is called. Daniels watches it sail outside. Ball 1, strike 1. Inside corner, strike 2 call. I'll tell you, the fans have been a little bit testy. And with good right. Since the 4th inning, when the Expos hit 4 home runs to score 5 runs. This is supposed to be a contending team. Pitch is high and outside, ball 2. 2-2. But they are certainly not playing like one at the moment. Daniels hits one to deep right field. It is a home run. Line drive home run over the wall and right by Cal Daniels. It was a matter of whether or not it was high enough. It was, and it's out of here. Tonight's fireworks courtesy of the Dury folks at Kroger and Texas Gold Premium Ice Cream. And Cal Daniels, this bud's for you. We'll pause for station identification somewhat belatedly on the Cincinnati Reds Baseball Network. Diaz is lined to center, fly to left, and a base hit in the 7th inning to knock in a run, his 5th RBI of the year. Swinging a foul, he's behind 0-2. Well, how are you going to keep him out of the lineup? That's Cal Daniels and Kurt Stillwell. One of the things Pete told his ball club in a very, very testy meeting last night prior to the Sandlot benefit game in Detroit was, stop worrying about who's in the lineup. He said, when I post a lineup, don't bother to come by my office and ask why I'm not in there. Just accept it and go out and cheer for the guys who are in there and work like the dickens and do your job when you're called on. Well, you got 2 kids right now who are swinging the bat, and they might be by themselves at the moment. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Seven to 4, bottom of the 9th inning. Reds are still 3 runs short. Burke kicks and fires, and he struck him out. Diaz tried to chase a breaking ball and then tried to stop the chase, but it was too late. Davey Concepcion 0 for 3 has scored a run after reaching on an error in the second inning. Need a new Reds cap? You can get yours free on Cap Day at the ballpark, Sunday, May 18th against the Mets. First 20,000 fans in attendance receive a free Reds cap thanks to Kraft Light Natural Cheeses. Always one of the Reds' most popular special dates. You want to make your plans now. Cap Day on Sunday, May 18th. That's against the Pittsburgh Pirates, not the New York Mets. 0-1 on Concepcion. And it's low for a ball, 1 ball and 1 strike. Might be interested to know, Dave Parker, in scoring that run on the homer that Daniels hit, reaches 900 runs scored in his big league career. So Parker reaches a milestone, and this man, Dave Concepcion, the next home run he hits will be his 100th. At the moment, just trying to get on for Stillwell, batting behind him. 2-1 from Burke. And a slow bouncing ball to third. While it gets, he throws, and that's it. In the ninth, the Reds get 2 runs, 2 hits. They go down to their 4th consecutive loss and their 8th in the last 9 games as Montreal wins this series opener 7-4. We'll be back in just a moment. Here at Riverfront, things were not as good. The Reds got off well. They scored an unearned run off of Bryn Smith in the second inning. When with 1 out, Dave Concepcion hit what appeared to be a double play ball to second. They got the force at second, but the throw by shortstop Hubie Brooks ended up in the Reds' dugout. Davey going to second, and a moment later he scored when Kurt Stillwell singled back through the middle. But then in the 4th inning, the Montreal Ball Club proved to everybody in this ballpark why they are the most powerful team in the National League. Andre Dawson and Hubie Brooks greeted Mario Soto with back-to-back home runs to open that inning. 1 out later, Tim Wallach homered to left center, making it 3-1. After Al Newman singled and stole second, our star of the game, Mike Fitzgerald, hit the 4th home run of the inning, a blast over the left field wall to give Montreal a 5-1 lead. 4 homers in 1 inning off of the same pitcher ties a major league record. The last time it was done was against a Milwaukee pitcher, but a former Red, left-hander Mike Caldwell, back on the 31st of May in 1980. So Soto tied a record held by 10 previous pitchers. The last time it was done in the National League was 32 years ago when Ben Wade, then pitching for the Brooklyn Dodgers, gave up 5 homers in an inning on 28th of May. After that, the Expos added another run in the 5th inning. An RBI single by Fitzgerald got that one home. They came up with still another run in the 9th inning off of Ted Power on doubles by Tim Raines and Mitch Webster. After the Reds got that run in the 2nd, they added run number 2 in the 7th on a triple by Cal Daniels and a single by Bo Diaz. And, of course, wrapped up their scoring in the 9th inning when with 1 down, Dave Parker single up the middle, and Daniels capped off a fine individual performance with a 2-run home run over the right field fence, his 2nd long ball of the season. Buck Rogers at that point lifted Smith, brought on Tim Burke. He struck out Bo Diaz and got Davey Concepcion to bounce to third to provide Montreal with its 8th win in 17 tries. The Expos had 7 runs, 15 hits, 1 error, left 7. The Reds 4 runs, 7 hits, 2 left. Smith 2-2 the winner, Soto 2-2 the loser. So the Reds will try to do it again tomorrow. That is to break a losing streak that now stands at 4. They, of course, snapped a 4-game streak when Soto shut out Houston 3-0 Thursday night in the Dome. They never lost 5 in a row in 1985. They lost 4 straight 3 different times, but never as many as 5. So they are faced tomorrow with a challenge of trying to break this losing streak and trying to set a new standard over the last couple of seasons. 12:35 the starting time. Jay Tibbs 2-0 with an outstanding earned run average will go for Montreal. Tom Browning 0-2 will be on the mound at games beginning for Cincinnati. And we'll have it for you beginning with the pregame shows on most of these same stations at 12:05. Again, the final score tonight, a game that took 2 hours and 36 minutes to play before a crowd of 13,289. The Expos 7 and the Reds 4.
Hello there, everybody. Welcome to Reds Game Scored number 5 for 1986. This is DVP reporting. That was Marty Brenneman you just heard. He was relaying his scores and comments program, or what is now called the Brenneman Report. That was from the booth at Riverfront Stadium on this 29th day of April, 1986. And it's another losing day for the Cincinnati Reds. Their 4th loss in a row and 8th in 9 tries, as Marty Brenneman pointed out. So things have not gone well at all for Pete Rose's ball club here early in the 86 season. The Reds were over 500 after 7 games at 4-3, but since then They've gone 1-8. Let me see if that's right. Yes, 1-8 since being at 4-3. They swept the Atlanta Braves in a 2-game series at Atlanta, and I scored the wrap-up to that series. Of course, that's my last win scored. And the Reds have won only one game since that mid-April ball game, and that was a 3-0 shutout behind Soto's three-hitter this past Thursday night in the first of four at the Dome. And then Houston proceeded to take the final three of that series to put us into last place in the National League West, and we're further entrenched into that now because the Dodgers won today, and the Reds now a game behind them, remaining 6.5 behind the first-place Houston Astros, who were bombarded by the Philadelphia Phillies at Veterans Stadium tonight, so the Reds didn't fall to 7.5 back. The 6.5 back's the farthest we've been back since sometime in September or maybe August of 1985. And if we lose tomorrow, which would be a sweep for the Expos, it'll be our first 5-game losing streak since the 1984 season when the Reds were 70-92 under both Vern Rapp and Pete Rose. Also have a note on this month of April. It's going to be a losing month. The best they can do is 6-10, which would put them 4 under. That's the first losing month in a full month that Pete Rose has managed. And that's a pretty good statistic. Rose became manager in mid-August of 1984, and that was a losing August that month for the club under Rose and Rapp. And it was also, well under 500 under Pete in August, but I exclude that because he was just getting, his feet wet as manager. And his first full month as manager was September of 84. We went 15-12, remember, second best in the West that month. And then, of course, in 86, as I pointed out previously in an earlier program, maybe it was the preview show early this month, the Reds did not have any losing months in 1985, the only club in Major League Baseball that could make that claim. But this is going to be our first losing month since August of 1984. So a pretty good string of months going consecutively. 8 straight will be broken with this April 86. The Reds now 5-11, already 6 games under 500, and 6.5 behind those surprising astronomicals in this National League West. Let's have a look at my records now. What do you say? You want to jot these down? I'm under 500 now with 2 straight losses under my belt. This is the second consecutive game that I have penciled in. That is to say, I've scored the last 2 Reds games played. That's why I didn't have a Reds recap at the beginning of this cassette. You came in with a little theme there, and then on in with today's ball game. Actually, I could do a Reds recap because there was a game yesterday. Yesterday was an off day, Monday, April 28th. My last game scored was Sunday the 27th. The Reds losing that wrap-up to the Astros, and the Reds did go up to Detroit to play the Tigers before starting up this 2-game series in the beginning of a 3-series, 9-game homestand, which begins tonight, and the Reds now have lost 6 consecutive home games. Haven't won a home game since opening day, the only one we've won there this season. But on Monday the 28th, the Reds did come up with a victory. That's too bad it didn't count in the standings. 7-3, the Reds clipped the Detroit Tigers. We had a couple of homers in that game. We just heard a little bit of the information secondhand off the radio because there was no broadcast of that contest last night. It was the Sandlot exhibition game to help benefit Knothole baseball in the greater Detroit area, the Detroit metro area. The same thing that happens in Cincinnati every year, although this year it was canceled because the Tigers had to play a makeup game with the White Sox. The Kid Glove game on the 21st was called off. Actually, it was on the 17th of the month it was supposed to be played. And, that's been put on the back burner. I don't think they're going to play that. Maybe they will later on. But the Reds beat up on the Tigers yesterday. Home runs by Sal Butera and Dave Parker. And Parker, we hear it told, hit one almost out of Tiger Stadium. He hit the upper facade in deep right field. And only a handful of players, I guess, have ever hit the ball out of Tiger Stadium among left-handed batters. I think Reggie Jackson did it. Jackson hit that light tower in deep right center. Remember that infamous home run in the 1971 All-Star game. And Parker's might have been comparable to that in distance last night. And we heard that on the radio tonight, that the Reds defeated the Tigers 7-3. Rose said we had 11 or 12 hits. And a good day for Parker and Butera. And Butera's got 1 regular season homer this year. His only hit, that was at Atlanta in his first at-bat of the year. And Parker also a long ball. That would represent his 6th if it were National League play. Parker leads the club with 5 and an RBIs. But he, along with everybody else, is in the deep freeze right now. This club resembles, a pack of Eskimos, I guess you want to say. These batting averages I'm going to be reading off are not anything to write home about, to say the very least. My record through 5 is now under 500, as I started to say a couple hours ago. 2 wins and 3 losses, so a .400 winning percentage, and 2 consecutive defeats going for me. The Reds have now lost 4 in a row overall, and 8 of 9 The Expos getting to within 1 of 500, staying 5 games back, tied for third with the Cardinals in the National League East, as they're now 8-9 on the year, trying to move up the ladder. I got them predicted dead last in the National League East. They're up in third. I've got the Reds finishing first, and they're last to this point. Let's hope we can reverse that, do a little reciprocation there later on in the season. The first game against the Expos this year, so I know I'm 0-1 against that ball club. Lifetime record stands at 247 victories, and this being loss number 180 for my game scored going back to the 1975 season. Game 1 was against these Expos, and game 2, 437 overall, and 427 with Cincinnati is also against that Montreal team. Of course, a new manager. I guess it was Gene Mauch back in 75, I think. And, of course, now Buck Rogers in his second season as Montreal manager. Didn't take them very far last year, hoping to do better in 86. My record is 67 over 500 lifetime, a 578 winning percentage. Thought I'd pass along that information while I had a little time here. My lifetime records, which I haven't said this season, I don't believe. Some other one-loss records in my games. At home, I'm now 1-1, so I've scored the only home victory for the Reds this year. That was, of course, opening day back on April the 7th. So 6 straight home losses for the Reds. They haven't done that in quite a while. You probably have to go back to maybe 82 when we lost 101 games, and this season is beginning to remind me of 1982. Although this 5-11 record is exactly the same slate we had through 16 games just 2 years ago when we weren't quite as bad. In 1984, that was the year Rapp had the Reds up until August, and then Rose came in, as I mentioned. He had that good September to finish with 70 victories. Although we did lose over 90 games that year, but I believe we were 5-11 in 84. Last year we were 9-7 after 16 games. We had just come off a victory after back-to-back losses against the Astros. But that season we won 7 in a row. That was last year. In April we won 7 straight. That was our longest winning streak of the year. I think we might have matched it with 1 later on. But much, much worse this year. Already 6 under 500. So we have to win 6 in a row just to become a 500 ball club. And that, that looks kind of nasty when you put it that way. But let's hope we can get it going again. Day game tomorrow against Montreal then. An off day on Thursday, continuing with these off days. That's the 8th or 9th off day already coming up on Thursday. And then a 3-game series, starting a string of consecutive playing days. Maybe that'll help us get going against the New York Mets on Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Riverfront Stadium. My road record is 1-2 against the East, 1-1 against right-handers, 1-2. 1 loss in 1-run games, no extra inning games scored, and 1 loss in shutouts. 1-1 at night. And, of course, I'll close out the month of April at 2-3. I scored 4 games in April last year, 5 this season, so I'm a little bit ahead of schedule according to numbers because I've scored now back-to-back games for the first time in quite a while. Maybe first time since middle of last year. The umpires for this one, a rookie behind the plate. He had been up part of last year, too, and he threw a man out today, Dana DeMuth. In fact, he tossed out the Reds player-manager Pete Rose. That's only the second time he's been tossed out of a ball game as player-manager since taking over in August of '84. It's the first time he's been tossed out while in the lineup as a starting player. He was thrown out after grounding into a double play as a pinch hitter, also at Riverfront Stadium. That was in July of last year, I believe. And I'm not sure who the umpire was. I think it might have been Wendelstadt that got him. But DeMuth gets him behind the plate today for arguing a third strike in the 9th inning. But really it was academic, as was the case with last year's ejection after he already had grounded into a double play and was not going to stay in the game anyway after pinch hitting. But today was his final at-bat. We were hopelessly out of it because this offense is so weak. Scoring 3 or 4 runs in an inning is almost an impossible task right now. And Rose probably had that in the back of his mind anyway. Might as well just get pitched out and see if they could light a fire under the guys. And maybe it did because the next 2 guys got on, and Daniels culminated a rally with a home run that you heard and we'll hear again on this cassette. So maybe that did help things a little bit. Rose getting pitched out in the 9th inning. So DeMuth behind the plate, his first game back. He was called up from the Pacific Coast League. I think now with the schedules starting to be a little heavier for all the ball clubs, they're adding a few more umpires. They get the vacation umps in there, and I think they're going to use a few more umpires now because there's going to be more games every day. Also, Steve Ripley, which I know is one of Marty and Joe's favorites. He's been called up, too, from one of the minor leagues, and DeMuth comes up from the PCL. Speaking of Ripley, of course, he's the one who muffed that call in 1984. Was it 84, I'm thinking of, when Mario Soto was suspended twice? Must have been that season. That home run by Ronce that was foul by a mile, and they ruled it fair for some reason, and then they reversed it, and Soto and Zimmer and Concepcion getting into it, and everybody all hot under the collar. Ripley started that whole business, and then made several bad calls later that season, too, so he's not one of the better ones. And DeMuth He's really, I guess, not been around long enough for you to have an opinion pro or con to this arbiter, but he was behind the plate, and Rose would not exactly list Demuth at the top of the umpires' list for him personally tonight. At first base is a native Cincinnatian and Randy Marsh. At second base, Bob Davidson, speaking of the umpires still. At third base, John Kibler, the crew chief and a veteran of about 20 years of Major League umpiring service. The weather was very good, a beautiful day for baseball. Unfortunately, the Reds didn't play like the weather today. Sunny skies, clear skies tonight. Not sunny tonight, but clear for the most part. High of 71, low tonight of 49, and a little bit of a breeze blowing. Might have helped those 4 Expo homers get out of the park in the 4th inning, but they didn't need much help. As Marty said, no cheapies in the lot, as Mario Soto becomes only the 11th pitcher in Major League history to give up 4 home runs in a single inning. And it's interesting, all 4 of those homers occurred while nobody was throwing in the bullpen. Not one person had got up to throw in the Reds' bullpen until after that 4th homer was hit. So Rose was going to stick with Mario, sink or swim, up until that 4th one left the yard, and then I think it's about time to get somebody up, and he did with Joe Price. But nobody was throwing until that 4th one was hit. So that might be unprecedented, too, having nobody even getting ready. A guy out there taking a beating like that. But Rose knows that Mario's going to give up homers, and for the most part, he gives them up with nobody on base. He said that time and time again. And if the Reds' offense can't score, 4 or 5 runs to counteract the 3 or 4 solo homers that are going to be propelled out of the parks against Soto every ball game, well, he feels he might as well give up if the Reds can't average maybe 4 runs a game, which they have not to this point, only 3.4. They've only scored 55, which is probably the worst in baseball. The Reds have only scored these 4 runs over their last 3 games. They've only scored 5 in the last 4 games and have lost them all. And they should have scored more in that last win that they had against Houston. And so the Reds did, of course, score a run today in the 2nd. That stopped a string of 21-plus consecutive runless innings for Reds offense, going back to the 7th inning of the Thursday game, or the Friday game, which we lost 3-1 at Houston. We were shut out on Saturday, a disappointing 1-0 loss on a pass ball by Bo Diaz, and then we were shut out 6-0, big offense by the Houston Astros on Sunday. Then the off day yesterday for the Detroit game exhibition, and we lose today, but at least score some runs, which is somewhat of a breakthrough from what we had done at Houston. This game was underway about a minute late, 36 minutes past 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, to be precise. The starting pitchers were a couple of right-handers. They've been around a little while. Bryn Smith, 4 or 5 years in the majors for him, formerly in the Orioles and the Rangers organizations, and Mario Soto for the Cincinnati Reds, who gets in the record books tonight, but on a negative side with those 4 home runs that he gives up. That'd be the first Reds pitcher to do that for a while. In fact, Marty went back the last few times it's been done in the National League. It's been against Reds pitching, which is not a credit to the Red staffs in those seasons. But Soto's one for giving up homers. He doubles his homer count in 1 inning. He had given up 4 in his first, you could say, his first 4 1/3 games, and gives up that many in 1 inning. He gives up that many in actually 1/3 of an inning, if you want to get down to brass tacks, because 4 out of 6 batters hit homers, and 5 out of the first 6 in the 4th inning got on. 4 hit him out. 1 got a single, so the last one was with somebody on base. 3 solo clouts and a 2-run shot. The only man who didn't homer in that 6-batter span was Jason Thompson, the newest Expo obtained recently from Pittsburgh. He was called out on strikes. So it was good or bad for Soto. Homer, then a good strikeout. Called variety, then a homer, then a single, then a homer. So not the best of innings for Mario. It's got to be the worst inning of his career. And up until that 4th, everything was going along okay. 3 hits, but no runs in the first 3 innings. And a lot of people caught stealing by Diaz in this game. And Diaz kind of making up for some shabby defense that he displayed, including the big pass ball to lose a ball game at Houston over the weekend. And he fired out, or he gunned down, I want to say, 4 people today. 3 of them on straight steal attempts, and he picked 1 man off at first base who had started to go. So 4 out of 5 in this game on getting the runners for Bo Diaz. Now let's have a look at the lineups right now for the Montreal Expos. To lead it off in left field is Tim Raines. Batting second in center is Herm Winningham. Hitting third in right field is Andre Dawson. He's a hot hitter, hitting over 330 and leading the league in homers right now, tied with the former Red Ray Knight. He got his 6th today. He was 1 of 4 that hit him out, so excluding the pitcher, half of these individuals, position players, hit home runs against Soto in the game. Dawson in right field, batting third. Hitting cleanup at shortstop is Hubie Brooks, a second-year Expo, coming off a fine in 1985 season. Batting fifth, the newcomer at first base, lefty swinging Jason Thompson. He platoons with a rookie right-handed batter, Andres Galarraga. And He came on late in this game, in fact, to play a little bit of first base. Galarraga. Wait a minute, is that right? Galarraga, I want to say. Boy, that's a tough one right there. He spells it Galarraga. A lot of A's in there, and R's, and G's, and everything else. Could have called him alphabet soup, almost. Let me see. I think it's Galarraga. Yes, that's it. I think I had too many syllables in there before. Andres Galarraga. They say he's a good one. He's 6'3", about 220 pounds, and he can hit him out of sight. There's a lot of power-hitting rookies floating around the major leagues this season. The most notable over the American League with the Oakland A's is Jose Canseco, a young outfielder who can really hit the distance shots, and there's an article on him that he brings back the tape measure home run. I think he's hit a few already this season, and this Galarraga is another one who can hit the long home run. Batting sixth at third base is Tim Wallach. Hitting seventh at second base is young Al Newman. Batting eighth is catcher Mike Fitzgerald. He's got a platoon this year, I guess, with Danny Bellardello, the former Red. He'll be in there tomorrow. Batting ninth, the pitcher Bryn Smith, who was 2-3 lifetime against Cincinnati. For the Reds, Eric Davis leads off in center field. Batting second at first base, Pete Rose. Dave Parker in right field hitting third. Hitting cleanup in left field, Cal Daniels. A good day for him. He was one double away from hitting for the cycle. A strikeout, a single, a triple, a home run tonight. Hitting fifth is the catcher, Bo Diaz. He's 1 for 4 on RBI and several assists from behind the plate. Good job by Bo today. Hitting sixth at third base is Davey Concepcion. Batting seventh at shortstop, Kurt Stillwell. Hitting eighth at second base, Ronnie Oster. Batting ninth, the pitcher, Mario Soto. He's got one hit so far this season, Mario does. Not a very good 4-9 record against Montreal in his career. Some batting averages for these individuals, not very good. Davis, 196. Rose is at 0. This is only his third game and his second start of the year. He has a shot, if he doesn't get a hit tomorrow, of going 0 for the month of April. That'd be the first time he's ever done that in his 24 years. It'd be the first April since 1962 that Pete Rose had not had a major league hit. He's 0 for 7 right now, with an 0 for 4 today, 2 strikeouts, which he didn't much like. And to his chagrin, he was called out by DeMuth a couple of times. So this is his third game of the year. He's 0 for 7 with 2 walks right now. And Dave Parker, 306, which has really been tumbling. He's in a 1 for 9 and a 6 for 35 dry streak, although he's hit safely in 12 out of 15 games coming in. He still leads the team in homers, at-bats, total bases, slugging average, batting average, hits, and also 2 base hits, tied with Buddy Bell. So he's still leading the ball club in every department like last year and the year before. 5 homers, 14 runs batted in. He's also got a game-winning hit tied for first. And nobody's got 2 game winners yet on the ball club. We've only got 4 game-winning RBIs. 4 doubles, no triples, and a good 6-something slugging average. Let me see if I can find this. 613 coming in on the slugging for Parker and a 306 batting average. Hitting fourth in left field is Cal Daniels. Kalvoski had quite a day today to jump his average up to, right now, a club-leading 355, although he doesn't have enough at-bats to qualify, so Parker would still lead in batting average. But among all these players, Daniels leads, and another rookie, Stillwell, is right on his heels at 353. And Daniels 2 points better. Cal has reached base safely in all 10 games he has played this season, including 1 time with an error, and he's hit safely in 8 of the last 9. 8 of the 9 games he has batted, he has got a base hit, I think is what I want to say. He's got 11 hits in those last 9 games, so he's been a pretty hot hitter. And he really raised that slugging average today. In fact, he raised it from 481 to 677 with all kinds of total bases. He had 8 total bases in 4 at-bats, so that's a 2,000 slugging in this game. Single double, or single triple and a home run. The triple he had ties him for first with a Saski on the ball club in that department. Only the second triple of the year. Saski had one earlier. I think that was at Atlanta in the first inning of a game. So Daniels comes in at 296, but he skyrides that way up there. Hitting next is Diaz, and he checks in at 265. He's 0 for 13. A streak coming in. Davey Concepcion batting a blistering 184 in the midst of a 2 for 20. Beautiful spell for him. 9 for 49 on the year for Dave. And he does have a couple of home runs, as does Diaz. Diaz has knocked in 4. Davey is second on the club with 9 RBIs. Daniels, a home run, and he has driven in some 3. Kurt Stillwell is next at shortstop. And Kurt has hit safely now in 4 of 5 games with today's play, as he had 2 hits and lying down another time. Could have easily had 3. He's had a couple of hits in each of his last games, 2 games. 4 for 14 is a 286 average, and he got his first big league RBI tonight. Ron Oster checks in at a lowly 204 in an 0 for 10 dry spell. He hasn't hit a home run and has driven in 2 runs. Mario Soto 1 for 7, no RBIs. How about this day in Reds history? Well, how about it, you see? It's April the 29th, 1986. As we glance back, open up the book, this date in Reds baseball history. And I will tell you, last year on this date, nothing happened because the Reds had an off day, April 29th of 85. On this date, April the 29th of 1913, can you guess what happened? Well, there was something to do with the Chicago Cubs here. Now, the Reds lost their uniforms. They lost their uniforms before a game against the Cubs in Chicago. Now, that's a new one for the books. Now, absent-minded trainer Doc Simmons, who was also in charge of the equipment, forgot to load the trunks containing the team's uniforms on the train. After a game in St. Louis, once in Chicago, Simmons hustled across town and borrowed the road uniforms of the Chicago White Sox. The Reds seemed to be embarrassed by their hand-me-down outfits and lost to the Cubs 7-2. So they were wearing White Sox uniforms. And so the Cincinnati White Sox lost one to the Cubs this day in 1913. In 1956 on this day, Wally Post hit 4 home runs in a doubleheader against the Cubs at Crosley Field. Post hit 2 homers in each game to account for 8 RBIs as the Reds swept 2 from Chicago by scores of 5-4 and 8-4. On this date in 1959, the Reds beat the Cubs again. Well, we're always playing the Cubs on this date, aren't we? It seems. That happens a lot. In years past, it seems on a certain date we're going to play that ball club. And it's happened in these last several years. At certain dates, we're playing the same team on that date every year. The Reds beat the Cubs by a final of 18-8 at Crosley Field in 1959. In 1967, on April the 29th, let's see, we had a nice pitching performance by Jerry Arrigo of the Reds. He pitched a one-hitter against the Mets in Cincinnati's Crosley Field in a game won by Cincy by a final of 7-0. A one-hit shutout for Arrigo. The only Mets hit was a second-inning single by Jerry Grody. In 1968, on this date, we got a victory. We bombed the Houston Astros at the Dome 17-2. As we get a little more recent here, you'll remember this one. Some 8 years ago today, in 1978, Pete Rose hit 3 home runs in a game for the only time in his career. He did that against the New York Mets at Shea Stadium in a Saturday afternoon nationally televised contest, a game won by the Reds by a lopsided final of 14-7. Of all Rose's many accomplishments, says this publication, this one had to be the most unusual because Pete is not known as a home run hitter. In fact, he hit only 7 home runs during the entire 78 season, and if you recall, he had just 2 last year, got a couple up in the win in Wrigley Field. Rose also had 2 singles in the nationally televised game, which gave him 2,996 hits for his career as he was bearing down toward 3,000, which he achieved just a few days later against these Expos that we're playing tonight at Riverfront Stadium off of Steve Rogers, a shot to left field. So 3 homers by Rose this date 8 years ago. In 1981, on this date, I remember this well. I scored this game. Dave Concepcion had a big day against the Padres in an 8-5 win at Riverfront over San Diego. 2 singles, 2 homers, 6 RBIs for Davey, 4 for 4 with a walk for Concepcion. And I think he's the last player to knock in 6 in a game. No, he's not. Cedeno did it in June of 82 against the Giants. That's the only time it's been done since Davey did it on this date in 1981. 6 RBIs for Concepcion and a couple of homers. Now, Davey, you'll recall, hit 2 homers earlier this season in a game I scored at Montreal. Or not at Montreal, at Atlanta. And he did it for the first time since that 81 season. But it wasn't this date. He did it in June of 81 against Montreal. Hit 2 home runs. So twice in 81, Davey had 2 homers in a game. I remember back April 29th of 81, that 6 RBI performance gave Concepcion a National League leading total of 20 runs batted in. He went on to be Player of the Month that month. Ended up with 67 RBI, second on the club next to George Foster's 90 in that strike-marred 81 season. So there you have it, this date in Reds history. Want to go up a day? Some 17 years ago tomorrow, April 30th, 1969, there was a no-hitter pitched. And this was at Crosley Field by Jim Maloney. Maloney pitched a no-hitter against the Houston Astros. It was Maloney's 3rd career no-hitter, a feat matched only by 5 other Major League pitchers. Maloney had 13 strikeouts in the no-hitter as the Reds won 10-0. He closed out the game with a strikeout of Doug Rader. Now, the very next day, I think we'll find out, Don Wilson pitched a no-hitter against us. Yes, Houston pitcher Don Wilson, no-hitter at Crosley. Only one night after Jim Maloney no-hit the Astros, Wilson struck out 13 Reds batters, as Maloney did against Houston the day before. So a carbon copy of performances, only a different pitcher and a different team doing it for the winning side. Maloney, a no-hitter April 30th, and then Wilson, a no-hitter May 1st back in 1969. A rare feat, back-to-back no-hitters by different pitchers and different teams in the same ballpark, same series. So there you have a little bit of Reds days gone by. Look what happened in the past. And on this April the 29th, we wish we could put this one in the book, but I don't think this is going to make the book. Maybe it will for the record-setting home runs for Montreal. It'll probably make the Expos book, as 4 homers in 1 inning propels them to the 7-4 final over the Cincinnati Reds. 15-hit attack. Bryn Smith evens his record at 2, and so does Mario Soto with the loss. Soto's now lost 2 of his last 3 decisions. Hubie Brooks, with his solo homer in the 4th, gets the game-winning RBI. The game played in 2 hours and 36 minutes, my time as well. The total attendance in the stadium, I picked this off of Glenn Sample. I think it was calling it, or maybe Ron Roth, off of the speaker. I heard it behind Marty and Joe, 17,272. Now, give or take a few people there, I think that's right, 17,272. Now, apparently I'm not going to get the total attendance out of Marty Brenneman in every ball game, so this is something you're going to have to bear with here. I like to put down, or have been putting down, total attendance, which, of course, as you know, is the paid crowd, plus any non-paid that get in free, straight-A students, safety patrol people, your Rosie Reds, people of that nature, get in for nothing. It doesn't show up in the box score totals. But apparently Marty's going with the box score totals that show up in the paper. He's going to go with that figure every day. I kind of like that better. I think I'd like to put down that figure every day, but he needs to be consistent there, because if I get the one figure and don't get the other one, I'm always going to put down the one Marty says, because you can't really confirm the other. Because the total attendance, you can't look up any place. It's not registered anywhere except in the offices at Riverfront Stadium. You won't find that in the paper, and it's not reflected in the sporting news, because only paid attendance makes up your gate receipts for the season, and they only put that in. They only add up the paid. So the 17,272 from tonight, unofficially now, is well, that figure is gone forever. You won't find that anyplace else. That was one of the reasons I like using total attendance, because it was something that you would never see anywhere else. But 13,000 plus is the paid, and that's what Marty passed along, 13,289, which is good that he says that, because sometimes you can't depend on the box scores in the papers. As the Sporting News says, as they're promoting their box score book every year, 80% of all wire service box scores contain errors, and they leave something out, or an attendance figure is wrong, they slip a digit, and lots of times that happens with attendance, and I have to go back and erase something. That makes me scream out, and I hate that. So I guess we're going to get the paid attendance out of Marty every game. And he's done that the last couple times at Riverfront Stadium. He did it in that series against Houston, too, when they had 30,000 plus total, which is the figure they put on the scoreboard at Riverfront, but it doesn't reflect the paid. And Marty said the paid, which was 17, we had something like 10,000 safety patrollers up in center field that day. And so if there is a difference, which sometimes there's not always a difference in the paid and total, apparently we're going to get that lower figure said by Marty, and maybe Joe Nuxall on some of the TV games will give me both figures. I've noticed that when they split up and do the TV, Joe is good at giving you all the totals at the end of the game. He'll give you the time, he'll give you both attendance figures, and the game-winning RBI, and say the full line score, something sometimes you can't get out of Marty each and every time. But in any event, we had 13,289 paid in the stadium tonight, and as we go on and on about attendance, I'll say that the Reds' total season's paid attendance is now 153,165. That's an average of 21,881 for the 7 games that they played at home this year, and those 153,000, which includes a record for opening day, which is over 1/3 of that, which is over 54,000 for opening day. And the last 100,000 that have come in to see the Reds play have gone home disappointed. 6 straight home losses, starting with Game 2 of the year against the Phillies, and then we lost 3 straight to the Houston Astros and lost 1 in an abbreviated series because of a postponement against the Padres last week, and lose the first of this series. And let's hope we can break that streak and even this series at 1 tomorrow afternoon as we close out April. I don't want to go out 5-12 in the month of April, but they got a shot at doing that. And maybe May will be Dave Parker's big month once again. Last year was Player of the Month in May with a 338 batting average or something like that, and he hit, I think he had 8 home runs. Last April, Parker had no homers and 5 RBIs. So far this April, 5 and 14 in the run production, and a much better batting average. But he hasn't done much these last couple of weeks as the Reds have been losing, and losing some more. Well, it's about time to turn this thing over to side B. I don't know what else I can say here to wrap up this side. I don't want to start in with my game description yet. I got a few highlights coming up as the Reds got one run in the second inning, and then one more in the seventh, two in the ninth. You heard that on the home run by Daniels. Montreal gets its runs in the fourth and ninth and fifth. They got 5 biggies in inning number 4, one more in the fifth, one in the ninth to cap off the scoring. RBI double by Mitch Webster in that ninth inning. And then the Reds came back with 2 to get 2 within 3 in the bottom half of the ninth. 7-15-1 for Montreal, 4-7-0 for Cincinnati. The Reds have now played errorless baseball in 7 of their last 8 games. In that one game that they did not play flawlessly, they made 4 errors in 2 innings. But still only 4 errors in the last 8 games isn't too bad. 13 errors in 16 games, not too bad of an average. We've turned 11 double plays with a 1 that we turned over this evening. Some other team stats while I'm on a roll here at the end. The Reds' team batting average is pitiful at .221. That goes down another point. That must be worst in the league. .221. The Reds have had just 200 total bases in 542 at-bats, and that's a huge decline in slugging average. It was up way over 400 for the longest kind of time. By that I mean maybe 7 to 10 games, but now we've fallen down to 369 on the slugging average. We've had 120 hits is all. We've been out-hit 136 to 120. The Reds have been outscored 68 to 55. They've been out-homered 21 to 18. The Reds have already given up 21 home runs this season. Great gosh almighty. And of course 8 of those responsible to the line of Soto, with of course the 4 biggies tonight. The Reds pitchers have walked 51, not too bad. They've struck out 88, have allowed 68 runs in 144 innings, a 3.50 team earned run average, which is in the respectable range. We've had 5 wins, 2 complete games, 1 shutout, 3 saves, and pitching appearances total 47. The leader there is Johnny Franco. He's been in 9 of the club's first 16 baseball games. The Reds as pinch hitters are batting a robust 190. That's going way downhill. We've only had 2 players get pinch hits. Daniels and Venable each have a pair of pinch knocks, and a couple of them are doubles. With a 190 pinch average, no homers, 1 RBI. That was a game winner, sacrifice fly by Tracy Jones earlier this season. Maybe some of these veterans are pressing, and that's why we got these averages down in the 190s and 180s. But the rookies, I don't know, maybe they feel they've got nothing to lose. They've made the big leap. Some of them barely playing in AAA, like Stillwell last year. Got into AAA for just about 50 games. Daniels was hurt for a while. He only got into about 59 games at AAA Denver. And they made the big leap to the major leagues. And, of course, you would think there's pressure for them to stay up there, but maybe some of the pressure was alleviated but just by making this 24-man roster in the spring of '86. And they've gone out and they've looked fairly relaxed, and they've done a fine job. These rookies have been outstanding. Look at these guys I'm talking about. Calvin Daniels. I want to call him Calvosky every time I say his name. I think that is his full name. They shortened it to Cal. Calvosky Daniels. And he was born in Georgia. A .355 average for Cal. Now, Stillwell hitting .353. The other rookies, Jones, who hasn't played in a little while, .292 on his average. He's 7 out of 24. He's done a fine job. And also, Sal Butera, a first-year Red. He's not a rookie. He's been around 5 other years with other teams, but he's got a hit and a home run this season. He's thrown a man or 2 out from behind the plate. And also, young Ron Robinson. In his first real full season with the Reds, he wasn't called up last year until May. He's got the best earned run average in the league. He's starting out today at .057, and he's 2-0. He's got 2/5 of our wins, and he's got 1 of our 3 saves. He saved a game for Soto opening day. That's our only home victory, so he's done a fine job. And also look at Scott Terry. No record, no saves, but a 142 earned run average. He's been very, very good. He's one of the 5 rookies that we've got on the roster. Actually, only 4 now because Paul O'Neill was sent out to Denver a few days ago to make room for Pete Rose. Rose activated last week. Let's see, that was last Wednesday night. He came off the 15-day disabled list. We've also got word on another player on our DL, Dave Van Gorder. I was wondering if he was ever going to come off and maybe Butera go down or someone else go down, but we understand now Van Gorder, as of today, has been assigned to Denver, but not an option. He's going down there on the 20-day rehabilitation program to work out the kinks. Of course, he suffered an injury to his think it was his wrist. That was in spring training against the Dodgers at Vero Beach. He hurt himself in March and was on the 21-day disabled list to start the year. He was eligible to come off on the 21st, I believe. Now here it is the 29th, and they finally make a decision on him. So they waited quite a while. He'll be gone for another 20 days, so there's almost the whole month of May shot for VG. He's down at Denver on the rehabilitation program. Also news on a former Red, I just happened to think of this, Frank Pastore. I was thinking of roster cuts in spring training, and I thought of Pastore, and we were out dancing in the streets when he was cut. He hasn't done much for us since 1980 or 81. He was picked up by the Minnesota Twins, and I heard him on the radio tonight. I didn't hear him. I heard about him. They were talking about Pastore pitching for the Twins. I heard that scanning the radio, and I heard Pastore pitching for Minnesota this evening. So Frank Pastore has been picked up. Also got a former Red, Bill Dawley, being picked up by the Chicago White Sox recently as a free agent. And a full scoreboard should be coming up if I don't go on and on about this ball game, and I should be able to talk about some of those former Reds pitchers at work tonight. I noticed a lot of former Reds pitchers were working for other ball clubs in the games this evening. Well, let's do it now, play-by-play for this one. Top of the first inning, it's Mario Soto pitching to Timmy Raines from Whittingham and Andre Dawson. Raines hit the first pitch of the game into right field, and Dave Parker made the catch. Whittingham then singled into right center, and he was thrown out on the steal attempt, 2-4. Diaz nails his first to 4. That goes down to Ronnie Oster. Dawson then singles into left center, and then he's nailed on the bases. He started to go on the pitch from Soto to Hubie Brooks, and then he stopped. I guess he felt that he couldn't make it. He got scared or something. 2-3 to 4-2 on that rundown play as they trapped him between first and second. Diaz fired to Pete. He ran him towards second. Therefore, it's a cat stealing because he broke for the bag. Then he arose through the second baseman Oster, who in turn threw back to Diaz, and he tagged him out. So Diaz, in the first 2 innings of this game, had himself 2 putouts, 1 on a strikeout, and 3 assists. Because he gets an assist on this play for throwing to Rose and the putout as they get him 2-3-4-2. And he also got a putout on a strikeout the next inning and an assist, or 2 other assists on caught stealings. So he was doing it behind that plate. No runs, 2 hits, none left for the Expos in the first inning. In the bottom of the first against Bryn Smith, the Reds are out in order on 3 ground balls. One of them a fine diving play by Tim Wallach. On a 3-2 pitch, Davis roped one toward left field. It looked like it was ticketed for the corner. It might have been Davis's second double of the year, but no, sir. And Davis got out of the box slowly, too. He thought it was going to be a 2-bagger, and that's why they were able to throw him out just barely at first. 5-3, fine diving play by Tim Wallach. He's an underrated third baseman, in my opinion. He turned in a fine play opening day last year. I still remember that play on Cesar Cedeno, feigning a throw to first base and then getting the man rounding third base after a nice stop on a ball hit down the line. And this one was a beauty. He's made some good plays in his third base days for the Expos. Originally a first sacker, can also play the outfield. So Davis is thrown out 5-3 on a fine stop, and then Pete Rose, in his first at-bat at Riverfront Stadium this year, hit a ground ball to second base, and Dave Parker did the same thing on the first pitch thrown to him. No runs, no hits. In the top of the second inning, another man is the victim of Bo Diaz's shotgun arm in this game, a strikeout swinging of Hubie Brooks to start off this inning, and that for Mario Setz is his 17th strikeout of the year. He's way behind there in strikeouts per 9 innings. Speaking of strikeouts, a record was set today. I'll have more on that later. 20 strikeouts by a Red Sox pitcher today. Roger Clemens fanned 20 Mariners in 8 2/3 innings. That is more strikeouts than Soto has in all 5 of his games. And Clemens did it in under 9.0 in his game against the Mariners tonight, because his 20th strikeout was not the final out of the 9th inning. I think it was the second out. So Clemens, a major league record, which was set, way back by someone. It was tied in succeeding years by a former Red, Tom Seaver. He did it with the Mets in 1969 or 1970. He struck out 19 San Diego Padres. Steve Carlton also got 19 strikeouts, and Nolan Ryan fanned 19, I think, in 1973 for the California Angels. But a new record set today by Roger Clemens, 20 Ks. And Soto's first of this game, and just his 17th of the year, came against Hubie Brooks in the second. Well, just think of that, 20 Ks out of 27 outs. That's unbelievable. When Clemens wakes up tomorrow and sees that in the box score, he's going to faint and not believe it. Probably hasn't sunk in, and he sees that 2-0 in the strikeout column. That is unbelievable. And then with 1 out, Jason Thompson, going back to our game now, a base hit into right center for Jason. So that's his first hit against the Reds as a Montreal Expo, obviously. Obtained for 3 minor league ball players just before the season began. And they got him as insurance in case this youngster Andres Galarraga didn't pan out. And to start the year, wasn't hitting too well. That's why they got Thompson, and now they got a righty-lefty platoon situation, and it's not too bad. Probably could do a little better defensively, but offensively is pretty good. Thompson, in his last couple of years with the Pirates, hadn't done too well. 1982, I think, was his best year. He had 30 homers for Pittsburgh. Thompson singles here, and 1 out later is thrown out stealing to end the inning with Newman at the plate, 2-6. In between there, for the second out, Wallach popped up on the pitcher's mound. Second baseman Oster made the catch. No runs, 1 hit, none left. So they've had no runs, 3 hits, and have left nobody thanks to 3 cat stealings already. And big plays by Diaz. In the bottom half of the second inning, the Reds take a lead. So the first 3 innings of the game looked okay. Good defense behind the plate, and we get out to a quick lead. This run is unearned, though, off Bryn Smith. We'll listen into some of this action off of the Reds Radio Network, recorded tonight with Marty Brenneman and Joe Nuxall.
Davey is hitting 184, and he goes to the other way. Second baseman Newman turns it over to the shortstop, and Brooks fires one into the dugout. He let fly a dandy. He got Ronnie Oster and Nicky Saski up and off the dugout bench in an instant. So they force Daniels at second, charge a throw on Brooks, and move Concepcion to second base. Davey avoids grounding into a double play by just that throwing error. And the inning will continue now for Kurt Stillwell.
Well, he got a tough throw from Newman. Was high, and he'll be trying to get rid of it. And like I say, if you're going to throw it away, make it interesting. Throw lollipops over there. Get it out of there.
That was just a shade short of the one that Oster turned loose over in Houston on Sunday afternoon. Why, Ron woke him up 2 or 3 rows behind the dugout.
Well, he threw a rider, and Hubie threw a sinker.
He hits one into center field. That's a base hit. Here comes Concepcion. Here comes Dawson. The throw to the plate. Not in time. And Stillwell goes to second. First big league RBI for Kurt Stillwell. That was a pretty good slide by Davey Concepcion, going away from the tag by Fitzgerald, and just got in there.
Well, if he slides on his right side, he's a dead pigeon. But he went left side toward the first base bag and took the tag away from Fitzgerald. Pretty good throw by Andre Dawson, who has a good arm, but the throw was up the line probably 8 feet or so, but still a good slide by Davey. If he goes the other way, he doesn't have a chance.
So the throwing error by Hubie Brooks allows the Reds to continue to bat here in the second. It produces a run on a single by Stillwell.
So we got a bit of a break there on that throwing error by Hubie Brooks. Concepcion, of course, doesn't run too well and never does give his all going down the line, it seems, especially on that potential double play grounder. You can bet he was just loping down the line, and they would have had him easily at first base. But you can't charge, well, like 2 errors on that ball. If Davey had not gone to second, it would have been no error, and the run would not have scored. But the error is charged because the ball goes into the dugout, allowing Davey Concepcion to get an extra base. So a first pitch single to start off this frame to center field by Cal Daniels, and then Diaz flies to center. Then on the first pitch, Concepcion hits into the fielder's choice 4-6, Newman to Brooks. Throw goes into the dugout for an error. Concepcion to second. He scores a few pitches later on a base hit into right center by Kurt Stillwell. Throw to the plate moves Stillwell to second. Concepcion with a good slide, as Joe Nuxall said, is in there with the Reds' first run since Friday. First run in 3 games for the Cincinnati Reds, breaking that streak of 21 consecutive runless innings. That's good that that's behind us. And we just did get that run in. Kurt's first RBI of the year, his first major league run batted in on that base hit up the middle and more toward right center field. And a problem on who's playing the outfield tonight. I tell you, these last couple of days I've been having a hard time getting the right information off of the radio. And for instance, tonight, I don't know who's playing center. I don't know who's playing right half the time tonight. Nuxall gave me the impression that Winningham was in right field and Dawson in center tonight. Now, on this at-bat, I heard Marty say single to center. I put down right center because Dawson fielded this ball and fired it in. They both said that. There can be no mistaking Winningham for Dawson. I think one throws right, one left. Dawson's a right-handed thrower, and he's got a gun. So he threw the ball in. It couldn't be to straightaway center then, so I put right center. So Dawson from right fielded it, because I know Dawson with the bad knees is playing right field. Winningham's in center. And then later in the game, we get a double switch made where Winningham apparently moves from center to right. Webster comes into play center and bat in Dawson's spot. But according to the wire service box scores, which I mentioned before is sometimes incorrect, but I think in this case it's going to turn out to be right. They list Webster in right field. Winningham never moved to right late in the game, but Marty said he did. Now, when Webster came into the game, Joe Nuxall said Webster enters the game in right field. That was in the 7th, and moving from right to center is Winningham. But Winningham never played right as a start off with, so he was all mixed up. Nuxall sometimes is, but I don't know where they were. And we had no TV to watch, so I couldn't get anything off of the television, so I just got to go by conjecture, I guess, and just take a guess at what's going on. But I put down center and right for Winningham, which I think is wrong. But I did that because the more accurate man, Marty Brenneman up there, said when Winningham came up in the 9th, here is the center fielder turned right fielder, Herm Winningham. So what are you going to do? You got him playing all over the place. Winningham's in right, center, and right, just center. Webster's all over the place. Dawson's in center here because this ball went to center according to the announcers. But I know he wasn't in center field, so what are you going to do? Throw up the hands, I guess, and just try to continue. But it's no big thing. I just thought I'd explain this because when you look at my box score for the ball game, I'm not going to change this because I don't really know what's accurate. It could be wrong even in the official box score coming up. You never know because I've got 2 positions for Winningham, but it's probably not right. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over that, to say the truth on that. But we get the run in, whether it's to center or right center, it's still an RBI single for Stillwell. That makes him hit safely in 4 of 5 games, his 6th or 5th hit of the season. Puts his average right around 300. No, it doesn't. It puts him at 333. 5 out of 15 at this point for Curtis. That's a big 2-out clutch single by Kurt to get a run in. The Reds lead 1-0. Ron Oster, a ground ball to second base to end the inning. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 error to make the run unearned. 1 runner left on base. If the error had not occurred, we probably would have had runners at first and third to win that inning. Concepcion, well, the way he hustles anymore, he probably would have been forced out on that base hit into right center. Well, you don't know. Well, let's go to the 3rd inning now. This is another scoreless inning, so Soto, the first third of the ball game, looks okay for him. He walks a couple here. Looked like he was in hot water as he walked the pitcher so many times. The first walk he issues is due to his opposing number. With 2 out, none on, and 2 strikes on the batter, he walks Bryn Smith. A 1-3 ground ball hit by Newman, a pop-up to short by Fitzgerald. Looks like an easy frame. Soto is now retired 4 of the last 5 batters. But then Smith walks on a 3-2. So does Tim Raines on the same count. So first and second for Winningham. It looked like Mario might be in 2-out difficulties, but he struck out Winningham swinging for his second punch out of the game. And that was all. No runs, no hits, and 2 left on. In the bottom half of the 3rd, the Reds are out in order, and 3 strikeouts for Bryn as he gets 9, 1, and 2. Soto went down swinging, so did Davis on a 3-2 pitch, and on a full count pitch. Rose is punched out and didn't like it much. That brings us to the top of the 4th inning, and things start going bad here. And this is the big frame for Montreal. 5 runs, 6 hits, all come in via the circuit swat. We'll listen into the first of the 4. This was hit by Dawson.
Soto working, and Dawson swings, and the fly ball center field. Hit well. Davis to the warning track. Davis to the fence. Davis looks up, and Davis can't get it, and it's a 1-1 ball game. Andre Dawson goes straight away center field. That ball hitting on the backdrop, and it's a 1-1 ball game. 6th home run of the year for Andre Dawson.
And that ties the big Montreal outfielder for first place among all National Leaguers in home runs. He and Ray Knight are the first players to hit 6 in the National League in 1986. Dawson's here goes to dead center field. 6th homer, 8th RBI. So there's only 2 extra runs batted in. Besides the home runs, if they were all solo homers, he'd have 6. He's only got 2 extra runs batted in. Hasn't brought in too many people. The Montreal Expos lead the league in home runs with a 4 tonight. They've hit 27. That must be a Montreal record for the month of April. The Reds were leading for quite a while. They've now been out-homered by about 10. The Reds were leading when they had 16 or 15. Well, Montreal has just zoomed past. Those Expos, I didn't think they had that much power. They've got Thompson and that Galarraga fellow. Brooks can get an occasional wallop. And, of course, Raines has hit several homers. You got Bellardello. He's already got a couple. But still, you look down the order, I would think the Reds would be hitting more home runs. Concepcion's got a little power. Diaz. And you get to Daniels, Parker, Davis, and Tony Perez off the bench. I think we had the potential to hit more home runs than the Montreal Expos, but not to this point in the season. And this inning, they really displayed their round tripper ability, round tripper hitting ability, I guess. Home run center field for Dawson, and then a home run to left field. They go to all fields in this inning. Actually, one is not hit to right. They go to center, left center, and then left again. A home run left field, Hubie Brooks, as they're going to keep the grounds crew busy picking up the balls behind the fence. I don't think any of them made the seats out there in the outfield. Hubie Brooks hits the game-winning solo homer, back-to-back jobs here. Now, only one batter removed here from having 3 straight. And take out the 2 batters that didn't hit homers, you got 4 straight homers. I wonder when the last time that happened was. The Reds hit 3 straight homers in a game in 1980. The first time they'd done that since the 50s. Montreal comes close to 3 straight homers here, but in between a called third strike on Thompson, then a home run to left center by Tim Wallach. Now for Brooks, a game-winning homer is his 5th home run of the year, so he's already clobbered quite a few. That'd be 2nd in the league. And the home run for Wallach is his 3rd of the season. To make it a 3-1 game, 3 out of 4 batters in the inning have hit home runs off Soto. So not the best of innings for him. Then a base hit to center field by Newman, a 1-base hit this time, so a bit of a victory for Mario. The ball didn't leave the park, but then a stolen base almost got him on that one. Another good throw by Diaz, but Newman just in ahead of the tag with his 2nd stolen base of the year. And then, yes, another home run. Mike Fitzgerald continues the pattern. A rocket to left field. That was a low hanger. I watched that on a replay later on. Montreal was televising. I didn't get the TV live, but we saw this on ESPN. Fitzgerald hit a low liner. Had just cleared the fence in straightaway left field over the head of Cal Daniels. Cal Vosky looking up and saying, what's going on here? Is there no end to this? Now, this is their final homer of the inning in the game, but it's certainly enough to make them winners as they get 5 runs on 4 homers, 6 hits in the inning, no errors, 2 runners left on. For Fitzgerald, his 2nd of the year. He was the star of the game with Joe Nuxall tonight. He had won earlier in his first game back after being recalled from AAA Indy. I think he was on that 20-day rehabilitation program like Van Gorder's on now. Fitzgerald started the year hurt, and Bill Ardella was the number 1 catcher, but now they're going to share the duty, apparently. And so Mike hits the big home run to cap off the inning. Then a pop-up to shortstop hit by Bryn Smith. That's the 2nd out. A big hand. Sarcastic applause from the crowd of 13,000 plus for finally a victory. We get an out there. And then a base on balls to Tim Raines, and the crowd boos Soto off the mound, and Pete Rose goes and gets him. Hands the ball to lefty Joe Price. As I mentioned, nobody was throwing until after the Fitzgerald long ball. And then Price comes in, delivers a first pitch single to Herman Winningham. That goes to left field. 1st and 2nd, 2 out, 5 in for Andre Dawson. He's up for the 2nd time in the inning, and he looked at a 3rd strike from Joe Price, who's been doing a fine job since his first game. His first game wasn't a good debut at all, giving up a game-winning home run to Marvell win at San Diego, but that's the only run that he's given up this season, up until, I guess, tonight. Yes, he did allow 1 run in the 5th inning, so that's the first run he's allowed since his first game. So 10 batters in the inning, 5 of them scores, 6 base hits, 4 homers, and a couple of singles also to boot. Well, in the bottom half of the 4th, the Reds need to play catch-up 5-1 as we're shell-shocked by the big inning, and we go down in order. And don't do much of anything after this. Up until that 9th inning, we sprayed a couple of hits in there. We had 1 run on 3 hits in innings 3 through 8. But then a couple of runs in that 9th inning, but it was too little, and, of course, too late. Parker, a first pitch fly to left in the 4th, fairly deep. Raines caught it on the track. Daniels went down swinging. Diaz flied out to left field. Now we go to the top of the 5th, and Montreal pads its lead. They lead 6-1 after this now, as Price gives up a run. A leadoff walk to Hubie Brooks. That came back to haunt the Reds veteran lefty. Thompson fly ball to center. Wallach a base hit to left field. His 2nd hit at as many stanzas. Newman a fly ball to center. Fitzgerald an RBI single to left center. So that's 3 RBIs for him in 2 innings. So Mike, a big day. Base hit left center for Fitzgerald. That moves Wallach around to 3rd. It scores Brooks, and it gives them their 6th run. Bryn Smith then flied out to right field to end another scoring inning. A run, 2 hits, no errors. There were 2 left on. They've left 6 on in the last 3 innings, but have scored 6 times on 8 base hits. That brings us to the bottom of the 5th. The Reds need 5. We get 0. Concepcion grounds to 2nd. Stillwell an infield base hit to 2nd. Fine diving stop right there by Newman. He couldn't get his man as Stillwell's got his 2nd hit. Oster struck out swinging, and pinch hitter Buddy Bell up for the first time in an emergency situation off the bench. He struck out for Joe Price. I wonder why he said that. He did not strike out. He grounded out. Hit into a force play. Technically reached base here. He's left on. Stillwell's 4-6-4 short to 2nd. And so Buddy 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter drops his average down to can't go much lower. He's 157. He comes into this game, though, having hit safely in 3 of his last 4 and 7 of his last 10 games, but only on an 8 for 50 hits and at-bats ratio, which is 160 average coming in. So Buddy hasn't done much at all. He's only got 1 RBI. That was on a sacrifice fly on an earlier homestand against Houston, his only ribby of the year. So as I said in my last broadcast, Bell's got no RBI hits all season. He gets into a force-out hill here, batting for Price. No runs, a hit, and one left in the Reds' fifth, and after 5, it's 6-1 Montreal. In the top of the sixth against another Reds pitcher, we used 4 today. Righty Ron Robinson comes on and continues to impress everybody. 3 shutout innings, the only one of the 4 Reds pitchers that did not give up a tally. In the sixth, he gave up a leadoff double to left field off the bat of left fielder Tim Raines, a ground rule double that hopped into the stands left side. So it's a double, third straight time on base for Tim. But then we get out of this on a weird double play. Winningham grounded to first base. Rose saw Raines stopping between second and third and fired to third base. They got him in a rundown, and then Winningham, for some reason, wandered off first, and they got him out. I think Winningham wanted him to go in the rundown long enough for Herm to get to second, but not so. And we double them both off. 3-5-6-1-4. Not exactly an orthodox double play, but we get it. It's kind of one of a strange DP. It begins with Rose. It ends with Oster tagging out on Winningham between first and second. Dawson grounds out 6-3 to end the inning. No runs, 1 hit. They leave nobody. In the bottom of the sixth inning off of Bryn Smith, he moses down again. He is retired now. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 of the last 14 batters from Oster in the second through Parker in the sixth had been retired. The only batter was an infield single by only batter who reached infield, hit by Stillwell in the fifth. So good job in the middle frames by Smith. He almost had his first complete game as he went into the ninth, but then came out in favor of right-handed flamethrower Tim Burke. He doesn't throw quite the flames that maybe a Nolan Ryan throws, but he's done a fine job. He looks like a Ryan out there this season. 11 games and under a 1 earned run average for Burke. He's already been in 11 of Montreal's 17 games and must lead the league in appearances. In the Reds' sixth inning, we got a foul pop to first hit by Davis, and then a ground ball to second by Rose. A called third strike was whizzed by Parker. In the top of the seventh against Robinson, he got him out in order. That's the first time a Reds pitcher has turned that trick in the game, although Soto faced really only 3 in the first and second, but he got 3 hits. In the seventh inning, a called third strike, actually a strikeout on a check swing by Hubie Brooks on a 3-2 pitch, and then a called third strike by Wallach to end the inning. In between was Jason Thompson's ground ball to second base. In the bottom of the seventh, the Reds get a run. And the first 2 pitches of this inning produce a triple and a single. Let's listen.
First pitch is swung on and hit fair down the right field line. That's a double. On his way to second, the ball gets away from Mitch Webster. On his way to third now is Cal Daniels, and he's there standing with a triple. So the ball gets through Mitch Webster in right field, and a triple for Cal Daniels. His second hit of the ball game.
Up in Boston, an update on Roger Clemens. He has now punched out 16 through 7 innings.
He's approaching the
He's
record.
got a shot.
Yes, sir. 19 is I think 19 is the record now, isn't it?
19.
Yep. Wow. That's just the 4th hit for the Reds off Bryn Smith. And here's Bo Diaz. Well, let's see if we can't mount up something here in the 7th. Smith working from the stretch to Diaz. Bo hits one into left field. That's a base hit. Daniels scores, and it's 6-2. So 2 pitches, and it produces a run for the Reds. And here's Dave Concepcion, and they're stirring in the Montreal dugout. And
Now, Buck Rogers was in the process there of dispatching some people to his bullpen because it looked like Smith was losing something in the 7th inning. And you heard Marty and Joe talking about Clemens' strikeout performance. It was in the middle of the game at that time. And Clemens in the 7th inning had struck out 16 already. Of course, as I mentioned, he went on to get the new record of 20 Ks, which is a record by 1 of the previous mark of 19. Now, you heard the triple to right on the first pitch by Daniels, and you heard him say Webster muffed the ball in right, but no error. Now, whether he was in right, we don't know. Sometimes Joe has a habit of mixing up the players, and maybe he couldn't tell really who was out there. But I think Webster might have been in center. That might have been Winningham that bobbled the ball. I'm not sure, but according to Marty, it would have been because Winningham went to right, but you don't know who to believe. But in any event, it's a triple all the way for Cal, his first major league triple. Then a first pitch single to left by Diaz to get his 5th RBI and make it a 6-2 ball game. Then a fly ball to right by Concepcion, and then Stillwell lined into a double play. Tough luck for the kid here as he lined one to first base, and the new first baseman Galarraga picked it off and tagged Diaz coming back. So an unassisted double play for Galarraga at first base. 1 run, 2 hits, nobody left on. In the top of the 8th inning, third and final frame for Mr. Robinson, he faced minimum. A caught stealing and a double play wiped off the 2 base runners that he allowed. So he faced minimum 9 in his 3 innings. Another good outing for Robinson. A first pitch single to left by Newman, but then he's nailed on the base paths 2-4. He's 1 out of 2 in steals on the day. The Expos 1 for 5 in steal tries. A check swing ground ball to second, hit on a full count pitch by Fitzgerald, and Mike was thrown out by Oster, and Smith grounded out short to first. In the bottom of the 8th inning, the Reds are out in order against Smith once again, where we do that a lot of times today. A first pitch ground ball to second by Ron Oster. Pinch hitter Eddie Milner batting for Robinson struck out swinging on a 3-2 pitch. And Mills, let's look up his pinch hit numbers. He's now 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. No RBIs as a pinch hitter this year. Davis on the first pitch grounded out to shortstop, and they nailed him at first base. At the top of the 9th, Montreal gets its final run. Leadoff first pitch double to left by Tim Raines. And then 1 out later, a first pitch double to right field by Mitch Webster. And that gives him a run batted in and makes it a 7-2 game. In between was a strikeout swinging of Winningham. After the double by Webster, Brooks grounded out to shortstop, moved Mitch to third base, and then Galarraga struck out swinging. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 left. In the bottom of the 9th inning, Rose looked at strike 3, then was ejected from the game by DeMuth. Then the first pitch single to center by Parker, and then this Cal Daniels smash.
Daniels hits one to deep right field. It is a home run. Line drive home run over the wall and right by Cal Daniels. It was a matter of whether or not it was high enough. It was, and it's out of here.
For Cal Daniels, his second Major League home run, it gives him 5 runs batted in with a 2-run, 1-out homer to right field off of Bryn Smith. That's the last batter that Bryn pitches to. Rogers takes out Bryn in favor of the right-hander Tim Burke, formerly in the Yankees and Pirates organizations. Burke made his Major League debut, you might remember, in relief at Riverfront Stadium, opening day 1985. And did a good job. That was the start of a good season, and he's off to another good year this year. He's 1-0 with an 0.96 earned run average, 18 2/3 innings. He's allowed just 2 runs on 10 hits, has walked 6 and has struck out 19. Fine job by Burke this year. Those are his numbers, including the Diaz and Concepcion outs that he gets here to win the game. But no save. He's not quite eligible. If he'd have gone 1 full inning, he'd have gotten a save. But he only went 2/3 because they're ahead by 3 here. Tying runs not on base or on deck. A strikeout swinging of Diaz and a ground ball to third by Concepcion ends the Reds' 9th. We get 2 runs, 2 hits, leave nobody. Went out in a bit of a flourish there, but still lose the game by 3. And Burke comes on to finish it off. The final score, the Expos 7 and the Reds 4. And now we go to the final statistics pages. For Montreal, it's game number 17, and the record is 8-9, a .471 percentage. They're 5 back, tied for third in the East. The Expos used 12 players in the game, 2 pitchers, no pinch runners and no pinch hitters. Cincinnati went with 14 players used, including 4 pitchers and a couple of pinch hitters in there. Number 30 is Tim Raines for Montreal in left field. He was 2 for 3 and scored a run. Number 3, Herm Winningham. Now, he was in center field, I know, but maybe in right field later, so I've got center and right. 2 out of 5 for him. Andre Dawson in right field, number 10, 2 for 4 with a run and a run batted in. Mitch Webster, number 23, was 1 for 1 with an RBI in his only appearance. He was batting third. Number 7, Hubie Brooks, 1 for 4. He knocked in a run, an error, and 2 runs scored. Number 24, Jason Thompson, 1 for 4 at first base. Number 12, Andres Galarraga at first base, 0 for 1. Number 29, Tim Wallach, 2 for 4, a run batted in. Number 4, Al Newman, 2 for 4, he scored a run. Number 20, Mike Fitzgerald, 3 RBIs and a run, he was 2 for 4. Number 28, Bryn Smith, 0 for 3. Number 44, Tim Burke. The Expos had 15 hits and 37 at-bats to raise their team average. They had 7 runs, 7 RBIs, and made 1 error. For the Reds, it's game number 16. They fall as 5-11, the worst percentage in the major leagues at .313. They're 6.5 back in last place after 16 games. Number 44, Eric Davis was 0 for 4. Number 14, Pete Rose was 0 for 4. Number 39, Dave Parker was 1 for 4 with a run. Number 28, Cal Daniels had a good day, 3 out of 4, a triple, a homer, 2 runs, 2 RBIs. Number 6, Bo Diaz, 1 for 4 with an RBI. Number 13, Dave Concepcion, 0 for 4 with 1 run. Number 11, Kurt Stillwell, was 2 for 3, and he knocked in his first big league run. Number 16, Ronnie Oster, 0 for 3. Number 36, Mario Soto, 0 for 1. The first time he struck out this year, by the way, was today. Number 49, Joe Price. Number 25, Buddy Bell, 0 for 1. Number 33, Ronnie Robinson. Number 20, Eddie Milner, 0 for 1. Number 48, Ted Power. 33 at-bats for the Reds, 7 hits, 4 runs. No errors, 4 RBIs. So pitching lines now, Soto's the loser. He went 3 2/3, allowed 8 hits, and half of those 4 home runs. 5 runs, all earned. He walked 3, struck out 3. So his ERA goes way up. Joe Price in 1 1/3 allowed 3 hits and 1 run earned, a walk and a strikeout, no homer allowed. Ronnie Robinson, 3 good innings, no runs, no walks, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts. Ted Power allowed 2 hits and a run in an inning. Seems like he's given up runs at every game. He walked nobody and struck out 2. The lines for Montreal go like this. Bryn Smith, 8 1/3 for the victory. He allowed 4 runs, 3 of them earned, no walks, 7 hits, 1 homer. He struck out 8. Tim Burke, 2/3 of an inning, no hits, and 1 strikeout. Doubles in the game by Raines and Webster. Raines had 2. Triple by Daniels. Home runs, here's how they go. Dawson, number 6. Brooks, number 5. Wallach, number 3. Fitzgerald, his 2nd. And Daniels, number 2. Game-winning RBI, Hubie Brooks. Stolen base, Newman. And caught stealing on the part of Dawson, Newman, Thompson, and Winningham. 1 double play for each team. Smith wins at 2-2. Soto, the loser, 2-2. No save. 7 runs, 15 hits, and an error for Montreal. 4-7-0 for Cincinnati. The Reds left only 2 men on base. Montreal left 7. Time of the game, 2:36. And the attendance, 13,289. That's paid. And the total, 17,272 in the stadium tonight. Mario Soto for the year now, even at .500 with a 3.86 earned run average. In 5 games, including a complete game shutout, he's allowed 30 hits and 8 homers in 30 1/3 innings. He's allowed 16 runs, has walked 13, has struck out 19. Against Montreal in his career, he slips to 4 wins and 10 losses. Lifetime 1-1 last year. He's got a lifetime .417 earned run average against Montreal through today. Bryn Smith is now 3-3 in his career against the Reds, 0-1 last year. He was 18-5 last year for the Expos, had a great year, under a 3 earned run average as a 29-year-old. He's 30 now, will be 31 August the 11th. He's from Marietta, Georgia. This was his 5th start. He doesn't have a complete game. He's 2-2 with a 3.58 earned run average. He's allowed 13 runs of the earned variety on 28 hits and 32 2/3. He's walked 13 and struck out 19, just like Soto. So just like Soto, he's given up the same number of earned runs and walks and strikeouts, and the same record. And close to some other marks being the same. There's the same number of starts as well, 5. So some parallel statistics for those 2 starting pitchers. Same number of walks and Ks through today. As for the Reds relievers, Joe Price, pretty good numbers. 0-1, no saves in 6 games, but a good .235 ERA. In 7 2/3, he's allowed 6 hits, 1 homer, 2 runs. He's struck out 9. He's walked a couple. Ronnie Robinson's been outstanding. He's allowed just a run on 10 hits in 18 2/3 innings with a save, 2 wins, no losses in 6 relief appearances, and a league-leading 0.48 earned run average. He has struck out 14 batters, has walked only 2 this season. He's allowed 1 homer to account for the run that he's allowed. Ted Power, just the opposite. He's 0-2 with no saves yet in 6 games, a 7.20 ERA. He's walked 5, has struck out 5. He's allowed 7 runs on 11 hits in just 5 innings, and he allowed a home run in his first game of the season. So there you have the numbers for the pitchers that were used in tonight's game. So the Reds lose it by 3, 7-4. The scoreboard is next. And now let's have a look at the Major League standings through this 29th day of April. In the National League West, our division will start with the Houston Astros, who lost today. They've still won 7 of their last 10 and 13 of 19 for the year. .684 winning percentage, which is the second best in the league, next to the Mets, 800. The Mets are 12-3. Houston 13-6, a game and a half ahead of the Giants, then 2.5 ahead of San Diego, 5.5 in front of the Dodgers and the Braves, and the Reds residing dead last, 6.5 behind. In the National League East, the Mets on top by 4.5 big ones over the Philadelphia Phillies, 8-8 for them. The Cardinals next. They've dropped something like 8 of 9. Montreal's next, then Chicago, then Pittsburgh, 6 back. It's the Pirates falling to the bottom. They finished last the last 2 years. In the American League West, California leads with a 13-7 slate, 2 games better than the Oakland A's, then Texas, Kansas City, Minnesota, Seattle, and the Chicago White Sox. In the East, the Yankees off to a good 13-6 beginning. Their best start since the 50s, I think someone said. 2.5 better than the Red Sox and the Indians and Detroit. They're all 10-8. 10-9 comes Baltimore, then 8-9 for Milwaukee, and 8-11 for last year's East champion Toronto Blue Jays. They're in the gutter, 5 back. They've lost 7 of 10 at Exhibition Stadium, uncommon, and they've lost 6 of their last 10 overall. They played better on the road at 5-4 so far this season. Let's have a look at Major League happenings today and tonight. First of all, let's start with that record-setting performance by Boston Red Sox right-handed pitcher Roger Clemens. That game took place at Fenway Park in Boston, and so the hometown got to see it. Hometown people got to see it. A 3-hit complete game victory, 4-0 his record. Roger Clemens allowed just 1 run, no walks, and the big 20 strikeouts. There it is. I see it in print. It's never been printed like that before, unless it was a mistake. But this time it's not a mistake. 20 Ks in 9 innings, and it was 20 Ks in, at the very least, 8 2/3 innings, because that last out, I don't believe, was a punch-out. Mike Moore took the loss 1-2. He only went 1/3. He went 7 1/3, allowed 8 hits and 3 runs. 2 hours, 39 minutes for that record-setting performance at Boston. 13,414 paid to see history made as Clemens becomes the first major leaguer in the history of the game to strike out 20 batters in a 9-inning game. 3-1 Boston over Seattle on a Dwight Evans game-winning home run. Gorman Thomas also homered. They trailed 1-0 in that game, so Clemens had a chance at striking out 20 and still losing the game, but luckily his Red Sox came back to win it for him 3-1. In other American League ball games tonight, the Baltimore Orioles down the Chicago White Sox 8-1, a Fred Lynn game winner. Home runs by Wayne Tollison, Floyd Rayford, and Cal Ripken. McGregor, a complete game 4-hitter with no walks for his second win, 11,000 plus at Chicago. Detroit got a game-winning RBI from Michael Laga on his 3rd homer of the year, young first baseman, to beat the Kansas City Royals 2-1. Royals have lost 5 out of 6, I think, now. The winner with a complete game and 8 strikeouts is Frank Tanana. Loser, tough luck loss for Dennis Leonard, who's been pitching well. He's 2-2, 15,000 plus at Detroit. In a wild thing at Yankee Stadium, Yankees blasted the Twins with a 9-run 7th en route to a 14-11 comeback victory over Minnesota. That's the game that Frank Pastore pitched in. He got hit for 2 hits and a run in 1 2/3 innings. He was the finishing pitcher. The winner was Ed Whitson, although I thought he wasn't going to pitch at Yankee Stadium because of abusive fans, but he did. He went 3 1/3, allowed 6 hits and 5 runs, so didn't do anything to enthrall the fans there, but still got the victory. Bob Shirley, ex-Red, pitching in that game. And the losing pitcher was Mark Portugal, 0-2, 13,213 at Yankee Stadium to see that wild contest. Oakland was at Milwaukee, and the Brewers came up with a victory with 4 in the late innings, 5-4 the final score. Bobby Joe Robideau with his first game-winning RBI. And there was home runs by Canseco, Deere, and Dusty Baker at his first of the year. The winner was Bob McClure. The loser was ex-Red Jay Howell. I talked about the ex-Red pitchers floating around. 5,907 saw it at Milwaukee. At Texas, the Indians beat the Rangers 6-5. Here's a couple of former Reds for you. The winner, Jim Kern. The loser, Greg Harris. Teammates on the Reds in 1982. 16,069 saw that game at Texas. Game winner for Julio Franco. Some home runs there. Carter, McDowell, Hara, and Mel Hall had him out. Camacho got his 5th save in that game. California was at Toronto, and the Angels came up with a victory 4-3 with a run in the top half of the 9th inning. And the winning pitcher was Terry Forster, new Angel, and a save, number 5 for Donnie Moore. The loser is Ike Horn, 18,103 at Toronto. And now let's do the National League. San Diego came up with a victory with 4 in the bottom of the 9th inning to edge the Chicago Cubs 5-4. So Harry Carey is pulling his hair out there. Terry Kennedy, a home run, and that's the game winner. That's his 3rd game winner of the year. The winning pitcher, 3-0, Craig Lefferts. He got himself a victory the other day with a home run in extra innings. The loser, Ray Fontenot, 17,536, saw that late inning, 9th inning excitement as the Padres pull one out of the fire 5-4 over the Cubs. Yet another 1-run game. They played about 15 already this year, the Padres have. At Atlanta, the Mets won their 10th in a row, and they bombed the Braves 10-5. Darryl Strawberry, his 3rd game winner. Strawberry, a big home run. Claudel Washington, his 2nd of the year. In that game, Atlanta outfielder Dale Murphy cut his hand while making a fine catch in center field. Cut his hand on the fence out there, plexiglass fence. Apparently cut it on a nail or something, and he's going to he had stitches put in the hand, and he's going to miss about a week. So that's going to stop his consecutive plane streak at 675, longest in the majors currently going, but it's going to be over apparently tomorrow. The winner was Bruce Bereni. There's a former Red for you. Loser, Craig McMurtry in that game, 12,258 saw it at Atlanta. Philadelphia bombed the first-place Astros with a 6-run first, went on to win it 12-4. Home runs for Schmidt, Aguayo, and Darren Dalton for the Phillies. The winner is Shane Raleigh. There's a former Red. Loser, Nolan Ryan, 16,313 at Philadelphia. The San Francisco Giants got a victory over the St. Louis Cardinals and a shutout to boot, 2-0. A combined 3-hitter by a former Red, Mike Lacasse and Greg Minton. Lacasse 1-0 with the win, a 3-hitter over 7 1/3. Good job by him. And Minton got his 3rd save. Bob Force took the loss, and they don't list the attendance here, but it was at San Francisco, so it was probably in 2 digits or something. They don't draw very well out there, but the Giants shut out the Cardinals 2-0. The Pirates lost to the Dodgers 5-4. Cesar Cedeno, a former Red, he got the game-winning RBI, his first of the year. Oral Hershiser got his third win. Ken Howell got his first save. New Pirate Bob Patterson took the loss 0-1. 30,342, the crowd at Dodger Stadium. And that completes the scoreboard for April the 29th. Again, the final from Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium tonight as the Reds lose their fourth in a row. Montreal 7 and the Cincinnati Reds 4 in 2 hours 36 minutes in front of a paid crowd of 13,289. So that wraps up my fifth game scored for 1986. And until next time, so long.